Donald Trump has officially now, well, he's won the 2024 U.S. election. Latest predictions show that he has won Wisconsin, the fourth of the 7 key battleground swing states. That extra 10 electoral college votes takes him over the line of 270, crucial number for getting all the votes needed. It looks like he will now have not just the White House, but the Senate, the House of Representatives, of course, that Conservative majority on the Supreme Court as well. Now, I wonder how much the issue of woke played in his election and the defeat of Kamala Harris. Well, let's talk about this with Joe Bartosh, who's assistant editor at The Critic. Good morning to you, Joe.
Hello, lovely to be here.
Lovely to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. Well, you've written a fascinating article for Spiked Online calling Joe Biden the first trans activist president. And what is fascinating is, if we go back to 2020, there was a real issue with the left of the Democrat Party pushing a load of this woke, so-called progressive, so-called liberal agenda. It's actually the opposite of liberal in your and my view, I'm sure. And Joe Biden was supposed to be kind of the moderate guy. He'd been vice president. He's Mr. Old White Guy. He's not going to be part of all this madness. Within hours of getting into office in 2021, oh my God, he was straight there with executive orders, taking away some women's rights and putting in some trans ideological stuff into law. How big a part do you think that those so-called progressive policies have played in the Democrats' defeat?
Oh, absolutely. It's been a core concern. I mean, I think if you ask sort of somebody, a member of the left-wing commentariat in particular, whether transgenderism is an issue, they dismiss it. They say it isn't particularly. But actually, I think if you ask the average American voter what they know about the Democratic Party's stance on trade, for example, they won't have a clue. But they know full well what's happening to their kids in schools. As you said before the break, this is affecting people at a very sort of, the visceral level. It's dividing families. It's having such a huge impact. And I think it's very easy to dismiss it. But actually, I think Trump's victory is clearly a sort of resounding victory for the rejection of identity politics.
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, again, not just her as an identity politics sort of example pointed purely because she was a black woman. Joe Biden was explicit about that with his shortlist of only black women for VP. And the fact, of course, she had to choose a VP herself who was a white man. I mean, they literally, they can't get the stuff out of their heads. And then they're sort of almost their outrage that lots of black and Latino voters, and indeed women, have voted for the other candidate. Like, how dare you? You're supposed to vote for someone who ticks the same boxes as yourself. Not understanding this is just irrelevant stuff to most people. But as you say, it's absolutely not irrelevant to people what the kids are being taught. Now, if we think what's going on in our schools is mad, and it is. And the only people, in my view, in American schools and British schools who are not worried about what our kids are being taught in terms of trans ideology, there's sort of was it anti-racism ideology, which isn't anti-racism, it's very much racism, dividing everybody by the colour of their skin. People who aren't worried about that just simply don't know what's actually happening, do they? And American parents have kind of woken up to the lunacy and the lies that their kids are being told.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it extends far beyond schools as well. So, we've seen in Californian prisons that they're now giving condoms to the female inmates because there are now so many male sex offenders in there who identify as women that they're having to take precautions. I mean, it is absolutely barking.
I mean, it's insane. It's dangerous. I mean, and people say that people like you and me, and J.K. Rowling, we're just making this stuff up.
I know. I mean, it does sound ludicrous. It does sound sort of so ridiculous. It's hard to believe, but it is happening.
Tim Walz, the VP candidate for the Democrats, as a governor of the state he was governor of, insisting that boys' bathrooms had tampons in. Yes. I mean, utterly, and dangerously destabilising for children as well. I mean, just to sort of spread that nonsense. And of course, there's a huge amount of money to be made out of it as well from the American Health Service. I mean, from pharmaceutical companies, from insurance. And with Rachel Levine, who was somebody that Biden put in office, so he's, oh God, what's his absolute title? He is the US head of the Health Service Commissioning Corps. So, having somebody that influential, and now, of course, we've got the first trans-identified Congress person, I will say. This is Democrat Sarah McBride, the first openly transgender person elected to serve in Congress, yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that sort of suddenly, somehow, it's great to celebrate a white man getting a position of power.
Ain't that the truth? Do you think any lessons will be learned either by the Democrats or indeed by the left over here in the UK?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was interesting, isn't it? We had the Labour Party actually going out to campaign on behalf of the Democrats. I mean, I really hope that this does teach them a thing or two, because ultimately it's bigger than left-right divides. But I suspect they probably won't learn.
No, I suspect they won't either. And again, this is not about battles or anyone being transphobic or hateful. And this is simply about protecting our children and frankly, freedom of speech and indeed, rather crucially, facts, like whether you are actually a man or a woman. Jo Bardon, you've been a fantastic campaigner on this issue. Thank you so much for joining us, assistant editor at The Critic. Claire Pissell, you work in Parliament. You spend a lot of time with people. You know people on the left and the right. Your other half is a lefty journalist, isn't he? He listens and watches us in absolute horror. By the way, do you think the left are going to learn anything about this? Because I mean, again, for me, it was one issue. In fact, I mean, on that alone, I could never vote for Keir Starmer because he doesn't know that women don't have penises.
They won't learn because they think they're absolutely right on this matter, and this is the hill they're going to die on. They think that the rest of us are mad, and they think that we're bigoted when we're not. We're just talking what I like to think is common sense. That women can't have a penis. It's quite a serious point.
They also, men can't grow cervixes. I know. I'm going to throw that one out there.
You see, that's going to mind-boggle some people out there at the moment. But I don't think they're going to learn. No, is the short answer to your question. I think that they are so invested.
They're going to double down,
and they are going to double down.
And I think that's what the Democrats are going to do. Lots of people thinking they're going to learn the lessons here. They are not. They are going to double down. They're going to go more to the extreme. This is what they keep doing. They do not understand. They think that everyone else who doesn't agree with them, as you say, is a bigot, and they will not learn, and they will be punished at the ballot box until they do, is my view. But there we are. Well, Donald Trump is the next president of the United States. I think on balance that is a good thing.